In the heart of California, a world exists that thrives on ambition and innovation. Yet, beneath the surface, a sinister undercurrent flows. Welcome to Silicon Valley, an illustrious beacon of technological advancement and wealth. A place where dreams are born, nurtured and brought to life. But as depicted by Craig Lund in his thrilling exposé, Silicon Satan, this shimmering mirage of prosperity is merely a facade. A facade that conceals a dark, clandestine world few dare to acknowledge. Lund's Silicon Valley is not just a playground for the tech-savvy, the dreamers and the innovators. It is a labyrinth where the walls echo with whispers of a Luciferian elite. A realm where the lines between morality and ambition blur, and the echoes of unchecked power reverberate ominously. This is a world where the power of knowledge is overshadowed by the allure of prestige. A world where the promise of tomorrow is often tainted by the harsh reality of today. Here, the gleaming towers of innovation cast long shadows, within which lurk the unseen players of a darker game. In this dystopian vision of Silicon Valley, wealth isn't just about money. It's about influence. It's about control. It's about the ability to bend others to one's will and the intoxicating lure of power that comes with it.
I had fled Silicon Valley and was never going to talk about anything because first of all, I didn't think anybody would ever believe me, the things that I've seen. And I didn't really want to think about it anymore. But I was watching Dr. Jerome Corsi on I think it was called the Patriot Soapbox or something. And they were talking about a lot of the things that I was trying to avoid. I was very surprised that they were talking about certain rituals and such that have kind of gone mainstream at this point, which is surprising. So I had a picture that I sent to him, and it was a picture of Obama with all the tech titans of the time sitting around a table toasting. Everybody assumed that was Obama's table. It wasn't. It was Larry Ellison's table. If you look at the body language and study the picture a little bit, it's Larry Ellison's meeting, and what they were toasting was the alliance that they had made between the DC, what I call the Lucy's, the DC Lucy's, and the technology Lucy's. Well, I like to say I sort of Forrest Gumped my way there. I'd always had an affinity for math and physics, and I really wanted to study math and physics. I started at the local city college, which was Monterey Peninsula College. So I thought, okay, mechanical engineering, I love building stuff. And then I got accepted into Cal Poly, sort of a roundabout way, and got into computer science. And once I got into computer science, now you have to remember, this is back in the 80s. And Silicon Valley and the tech industry was very young. It's a lot different than it is now. They were just starting out. We were still the geeks in the basement. And when I got to Silicon Valley, I was surprised at what was going on, very surprised. Had no idea some of the things they were doing to get power and position. I mean, they were willing to do anything. Now, a lot of people call them Satanists. I don't, because there's a lot of Satanists there, but they don't consider themselves Satan. I call them Lucy's, for lack of better. Some people call them the Illuminati. Some people call them other things. I just refer to them as the Lucy's. It's the Luciferian elites. And these people are crazy. They do some crazy things, and well, look where they are today. It worked for them. And this isn't new. Technology isn't new. The Luciferians aren't new. This is a long time coming. This has been going on for thousands of years. Yeah, drugs are a big part. A lot of ecstasy, a lot of cocaine. I mean, the routine is you take ecstasy to get things going. And then you take cocaine to keep it going, and then when everything's done, you want to go home, go to bed. You take Valium to go to bed. But some of these party, they could last days, days. And like I said, so it's hard to think back. I consider myself a different person now, but that part of me is still there. There's no way I can get rid of it, except prayer. it's not really like they set you up. So they're looking for a specific type of person, and I mean, corruptible people are easy to control. Uncorruptible people are more difficult, but uncorruptible people are what they want because those are the movers and the shakers. So they're very subtle about how this happens. You know, you start getting invited to parties, and then then you get invited to the back parties, and then you get invited to the orgies. And, a young engineer, it's easy. It's an easy trap, and pretty soon you're so deep into it that and that's why blackmail is such a big part of it, because the only way to get to the uncorruptible is through blackmail. The uncorruptible, you can't buy them off with just money. They need more than that. There's a lot of people in Silicon Valley that did very well. A lot of my friends. I had a friend that once contacted me, and he said, "Craig, what are you talking about? This never happened." And I was like, "Yeah, it didn't happen to you. I mean, you did well, and you can do well, but you're never gonna." I mean, I was on the billionaire path. I was heading down the billionaire path, and you get to a point where you realize this is getting really, really deep, really strange. I'm punching holes in my soul left and right. How am I ever going to recover? For me, it just wasn't worth it, and it's not easy to escape. It's like a gang. They don't let you just leave. And I had 3 attempts it took me 3 attempts to actually try to get out. And finally, I just fled. I went up north. I have a strong background with horses. I went up to the Mendocino coast, to the Lost, it's called the Lost Coast up there, because there's only one road in and out. And I hooked up with some horseback riding outfits, and that's where I kind of hung out for a while. And then the DOD contacted me, which was strange and a little bit concerning. It wasn't the DOJ, it was the DOD. So I went ahead and met with them, and they wanted me on a task force, and that's how I went back in. I don't write about that because I'm not sure what's classified, declassified anymore. One of the ways I knew that this wasn't real was because this Q guy was claiming that he had the highest top secret clearance you could get, which was Q, and that's not true. It's the most rare because you need a Q clearance to get into the nuclear reactors, and I worked at Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant and had access. I mean, I stood over the top of the reactor before it was online, and you need a Q clearance to get that. And so when the DOD contacted me, one of the reasons was because I'm really good with technology, and I still had an active top secret security clearance. And I have a hard time convincing people of this because everybody has their favorite Luciferian elite that they want to give a pass to, but you don't get into the billionaires club unless all the other billionaires allow it. You could have $1 billion idea, but you need their resources and their support to actually, bring it to fruition. So, every billionaire that you know about has gone through these rituals, and the rituals start kind of weird, and you think, okay, well, I'm just proving my loyalty to they call them Hasatan. I didn't believe any of that. I was just going along at the time. Again, I was a young engineer. I was having a lot of fun, at the time, and I was building things. You do have to work. You do have to create, and I was very good at it. And then they start flying you around to places. For example, they might fly you. They might tell you you're going to Costa Rica, and you do. You go to Costa Rica. You go through customs and all that, and then you get on another plane or a helicopter, and you go someplace else. And that's where the parties are. That's where the awful stuff happens. Once you get through all that, you find yourself being offered a position as a CTO, I was offered a CTO position. Chief Technology Officer position, and at that point you are required to get past that. You have to do the blood rituals, and the blood rituals involve picking someone that's very close to you and basically murdering them and bringing back the death blood on a handkerchief. And the blood rituals really don't have anything to do with getting it. It's just showing loyalty. It's sort of like a price to pay. I wasn't willing to do that. So all these people that you talk about, you know, I don't know, I don't really want to name names, but if you look at the past of all of them, there's a death. And that's about the time I started getting out. And I got really, really sick at one point, probably because of all the stress, but I was in the hospital. I had to have a heart valve transplant. And it took about a year to recover. And I thought, well, this is a good time for me to kind of fade away and get out. But as soon as I was recovered, nope, they were right back at it. You know, making me the offers, inviting me to the parties. And like an idiot, I went along. And then I started pulling out again, and they had me thrown into the J ward of Meritu Mental Hospital, which is the belly of the beast. I escaped a maximum security mental institution. I mean, who does that? You know, suddenly I was had APB in 22 police agencies in 3 counties, and they got me out of it. You know, to show me, you know, what they can do. So I was back into it again, and then I started pulling out again, and I ran off the road one evening, and went flying down the hill and broke my neck. My C2, same thing happened to Christopher Reeves, if you're familiar with him. And in the hospital, they said, yeah, you're going to be paralyzed. But I recovered. I mean, I fully recovered. And that's when a little time after that, I realized I have got to get out of here. And it's really difficult because, you know, I had a sailboat, 2 Harleys, $12 million portfolio, you know, a house a town, a flat in the Bay Area, a flat in New York, a flat in New Orleans. Drove around in fancy cars, but none of it was really mine. It was all leased in their name. So I just dropped everything and left. But what I didn't realize, one thing that helped me was when I broke my neck, I was awarded a $100,000 insurance. So I had that squirreled away. Nobody knew about it. That was my money, and that's what I used to get the hell out of there. And so I fled and went, you know, I've traveled around quite a bit, trying to shake all this off. Stopped contacting everybody, family and everybody. When, like I said, went up north, got back into the horses, and that was very soothing for me, very therapeutic, and made the mistake of hooking up with the DOD. And, you know, you just keep making the same mistakes. And then finally got out again. That was it. I'm done. I'm done with it. Larry Ellison owns Silicon Valley. I mean, he literally owns it. He owns most of Malibu. He owns most of Lake Tahoe. He owns the entire island of Lanai. Who gets to own a whole Hawaii? I mean, a lot of people want an island, but he owns the entire island of Lanai. I shouldn't say the whole. There's one little spot that's the administrative area. That's the only thing he doesn't own. And so he'd been planning on that, you know, for a very long time, getting to this position. They all have. They've all been planning on this, well, the situation we're all into today. This total, you know, prison planet. I was listening to Joe Rogan and Brett Weinstein the other day talking about AI as though it's real and it has a personality. You know, AI to me is just hard-coded thinking. You know, it's very sophisticated. Now, some of the things that are going on behind it is not technology. It's something else. There's a lot of demonic entities that are so the rituals. They do the rituals to get to the information, or to get to the information that they're looking for. And some of the information that they get, they don't understand. And I think that it's done on purpose. It's a game. There's a lot of different, what I call Lucy circles all over the place. For example, you have the Lucys of Hollywood, the Lucys of DC, the Lucys of Silicon Valley, and they're all battling for position in Lucifer's kingdom. They all want to be number one. And Lucifer tricks them. He lets them think that they're winning. He doesn't really care. As long as he doesn't care who's who. He doesn't care, you know, who's doing what, as long as his plans are implemented. The only way to get out is either is death. So, for example, if you look back, a lot of the original Hollywood Luciferians, and mostly they're puppets, Luciferian puppets, they started getting older and harder to handle. Gene Hackman, for example, and what they will do is they will ruin your reputation and then off you. So not only are you dead, but your legacy is dead as well. I mean, look, people are going to remember Gene Hackman as some old man who died in a rat-infested home, and that's not true at all. That was just the setup, and it's a warning to the rest of them. See, this is what happens. And these are always the people who are getting ready to either whistle blow, or they are getting, they're researching some of the goings on. At the time, I'd never even heard of a Luciferian. I didn't know what Luciferians were. I just thought that I was one of the special guys because I was getting invited to parties. And you get invited to the next party and the next party, and pretty soon you're up there. And it's your choice. You keep going, or that's as far as you get. A lot of people, you got to be careful, because if you get too far, they're not going to let you go. I mean, you may say, I'm not going to do this, and they might give you a low-level director job in Stockton, California or something, and where you can live out the rest of your life quietly. But if you're too deep, if you have too much on them, they're not going to let you go. Not alive, anyway. Back then, Silicon Valley was a much different place. It didn't have the attention that it has now. Well, it's going to sound crazy, but the end goal is to create a Tower of Babylon. I'm sure you're familiar with the Five Eyes. Break into the kingdom of heaven and throw Yah off his throne and take over. They have a very strange belief system. They really do believe they are the good guys. They don't think of themselves, they don't consider themselves evil. They don't consider the things they're doing evils, because they look at us as though, we're cattle to them, we're sheep to them, we're useful, and that's about it. They want a planet, a kingdom where they live forever, and they don't want God in it. Well, there's two things. One is to punch a hole into God's kingdom and take over. The other one is to punch a hole into Hades and free their trapped brethren that are stuck. So, it's very strange, because I was at a party years ago, and I was just kind of sitting there, and they were talking about a problem that they had just solved, and I was kind of listening on, and what it turns out was, they were talking about CERN. I'd never heard of CERN. It hadn't been implemented then. They were talking about, I look back now, it's like, they were talking about CERN. And this is going to sound really crazy, but all these mega Ferris wheels you see are CERN structures, CERN infrastructure. When the technology, think of computers, how huge they were back, now they're tiny, right? Same thing with CERN. When the technology comes to fruition, and then they'll shrink and make it portable. And they believe that when a person dies, their soul stays right where they died. It just goes to a different level, and they're stuck there. These mega Ferris wheels that are unprofitable, if you notice, they're popping up everywhere. Why? Well, it's crazy as it sounds, that's why. They're going to rescue the souls. They're going to rescue their brethren, and they're going to. And these brethren, when they get rescued, they need some sort of vessel in this three-dimensional world to interact in. And it's not going to be dead bodies. It's going to be these. It's going to be the robots. I guess it sounds ridiculous, but it's a lot more sophisticated. The things that they're doing are much more sophisticated than they let us know about. People talk about how the technology is actually 50 years ahead. Now, it's a lot. It's more than 50 years ahead. Their technology is a lot further ahead than what they're letting us in on. Like AI. How did AI suddenly become so sophisticated and so powerful to them. So a lot of their brethren have died, and they are stuck in Hades. According to them, they're stuck in Hades. So to them, when a person dies, you either go to this side of the abyss or that side of the abyss, depending on. And they think that the side of the abyss that you and I would want to be on is the bad side. That once you get there, there's really no place else to go, except for the kingdom of God. So they're going to take over that kingdom. They're not going to let us join it, when Jerusalem returns. And so they're going to free their brethren before they get cast into the lake of fire. And they're all going to live forever in this kingdom that Yah built. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what they believe. It's not what I believe. But they'll get betrayed. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's just Lucifer is tricking them into thinking this, into believing this, because he wants to, destroy as many souls as possible, right? But there's got to be a component within that tissue that allows that consciousness that they're going to rescue to hook up, and that's the big problem they're solving right now. Sure, I'm sure they've done system tests and regression tests as they move along. I'm sure some of them went bad and some of them went well. It seems like if they all went bad, they would halt and try something different, but they're moving forward. There's a lot of these CERN structures. It's not just CERN. There's I think a huge one going in Texas, being built in Texas somewhere. But yeah, they're building them all over the place. And then these Ferris wheels. It sounds weird. I hate talking about this because it's mega wheels, the mega Ferris, like the ones in Seattle, the Eye in the Sky in London, the ones in China, the really big ones. And if you look at them, they do sort of resemble CERN structures. And why are they building them? Why are they building all these mega Ferris wheels? I mean, who goes to Seattle to ride a Ferris wheel? It's not even profitable. I looked into it. It's losing money, but it's still there. And then people are still building them. I heard these guys talking about it a long time ago, and one of them said, yeah, when you start seeing mega Ferris wheels, that's when you know that we hit phase 3. It's interesting. What are they really building? And then I started seeing mega Ferris wheels, and I put the two together. I mean, this is basically my theory of how are they going to free their brethren who've been trapped in Hades. And then how are they really going to break into the kingdom of God and take over? I mean, they tried it before, Nimrod, came down and screwed it all up for them, and they've been trying to, find all the pieces, find all the plans, and they're getting there. They seem to be getting there. Yeah, it sounds like they're getting very close, but, Yah's not going to allow this, that. They think that they can do it. They think they're the good guys. They think that Hasatan. So they have this idea. It's sort of like the Mormons. They have this idea that Yah and Hasatan are brothers. Yah's the bad brother who's the mischievous one, and Hasatan is the good guy. They don't call themselves Luciferians. They call themselves the chosen ones. They don't respect Satanists. They keep the Satanists around as groupies. Every party I went to, there's always a group of Satanists. And the idea is if something goes wrong with one of the blood rituals, they'll just blame it on the Satanists. It was a satanic ritual that went, and you see that a lot. And there'll usually be 3 of them involved, like the Tennessee 3 and a few other. I catch them here and there. It'll come across my desk, and it's like, oh, there goes another one. I know what's going on. I know what they did. And then the other thing, the Golden Age and the androgyne agenda, they believe that humanity is silly, and they separated, and they need to get them back. They need to get back. It's strange to you and me, but from their perspective, it's not. From their perspective, we're the strange ones. You know, why do we want to be male male and female when we could be both? And once you have both, I mean, they believe that the original. It's funny, they believe a lot of what's in the Bible, but they apply it to themselves. They've put out quite a few Bibles that sort of to throw us off. But I mean, they believe in the garden. They believe in Adam and Eve. But Adam and Eve were one entity. And when Adam got cast out of the garden, that's when he was separated. So the Eve from the rib was in that feminine part of that entity being created, but there was no separation. It was one. So they also believe that there are not multiple universes and there are not multiple dimensions. They're all contained within God's creation, and that we can no longer see all the other dimensions. I forget what book it is, but at one point Elijah and his protege Elisha were trapped, and Elisha was very nervous, and Elijah prayed and said, open his eyes so he can see. And it's not that God opened the skies so he could see. He just opened Elisha's eyes so he could see. So they're always there. They're always there. There's just these other, we call them dimensions, but these other, I guess I'll just stick to the word dimension. I don't know what else to call them. Are always there, above and below.